Obviously, not the end result we wanted this past week. Overall, I thought we played solid on special teams. Disciplined guys overall did their job. No penalties. Badgley hit the ball well, both on field goal and kickoff, and converted all of our scoring opportunities. Kickoff wise, the guys, another good game. Just really solid in coverage. Think they've been doing well. Throughout the second part of the season so far, the average starting field position for the Chiefs was the 25-yard line. They didn't have a single return past the 30-yard line. We're able to generate off of a penalty, them starting at the 20 and a kickoff at the 22. Those guys continue to do a really good job, and certainly we got to keep moving that forward. We remain in the top 10 as far as kickoff coverage and things go, and keep building off that. Kickoff return wise, our average in the game was 28.7. Our average on the season is 29. So, like on paper, it was a solid performance. That's very similar to what we've been doing this season. Our average for the season is number one in the NFL. So, having that be similar within the game, you would think was a pretty solid result. Obviously, we won the kickoff drive start on average by over 6 yards. But I think we have a really high standard for ourselves. I think there's definitely opportunities. And, that's kind of the cliche of special teams. You always say woulda, coulda, shoulda. We were always one block away. We were always one play away. But I feel like certainly there were instances where either the returner could have made a better decision or we were one block away. The cliche of having a big return in that game. Certainly we needed a big return in that game to keep the momentum going. And I think we were capable of doing that. So there's certainly some missed opportunities within the kickoff return game. Everything else was solid. The punt team did another excellent job. Our net punt in the game was 47.8. We remain the number one net punt team in the NFL. We're fourth or third in the NFL in opponent punt return yards. Rigo is still top five in punt average. The punt team as a whole is operating at an extremely high level. Obviously the key being when, Shane hit that Doolin is going to be potentially out a little bit. We got to step up to replace him. That happened earlier this year in the Chargers game, and guys were able to step up and replace him. There's not any one person that can replace one of the best special teams players in the NFL. We got to do that by committee. In the, second half and in overtime in this game, you saw a couple different players that were able to go out there and, do a really good job. Tyler Goodson in overtime, wins at gunner, ends up making a really huge tackle, which was awesome to be able to see inside the 10-yard line. Chris Lamons gets held, gets pulled to the ground when he subbed in to replace for Ashton Doolin for a rep, gets back up off the ground, ends up making a tackle. They end up with the ball again inside the 10-yard line, which was really awesome to see throughout the game. We did see some guys be able to step up, and we got to continue to see that, in every phase as we move forward. Punt return wise, it was a really good end result. Their net punt in the game was a 32.7. We remain, number three in the NFL, from an efficiency standpoint on punt return with our opponent net punt. Certainly we did a better job of generating more punt return yards with two explosive returns in the game. And Gould did a nice job getting everything kickstarted, as far as that went for field position.
Thanks for that, Mace. Joel, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. What's it been like working with this front office? It feels like they kind of do a good job of continually giving you guys who can make an impact on special teams.
Yeah, great question, Joel. Obviously, great players make great coaches, and I don't pretend that that's not the case. Certainly, the more really good special teams players we have to play with, the better we're going to be on special teams. And, my whole career, even in college, was like, yeah, of course I want to play with the really good players, even if they're starters on offense and defense as much as possible, because the better players we play with, the better we're going to be. Chris Ballard, Ed Dodds, they do an awesome job, being understanding the big picture of, hey, if we're going to play complementary football and impact the game, they understand the importance of special teams. They do a really good job of helping us, before the season and during the season, make additions that are going to help special teams. We claimed a guy who's done a really good job for us and was special teams player of the game the first week that he was available for us, and Buddy Johnson. Obviously, we recently picked up George Odom, who's been an excellent all-pro special teamer throughout his career. So that's another really good veteran that we've picked up late. We pick up two 10-year veterans who are really selfless guys that do an unbelievable job and are completely bought in. And Laquan Treadwell, who we picked up 2 years ago and is a great special teamer for us now, even though he didn't have a lot of experience doing that before, but he's just a guy that they knew and identified and were able to find that we've been able to develop and does an unbelievable job on special teams. And another huge pickup and a veteran guy that's made a huge difference for us this year, like an Amir Abdullah. Like obviously our front office has done an awesome job of identifying some of these guys that can really be able to impact special teams, and we're certainly very fortunate for that.
Kevin?
Hey, Brian, you said last week you called Doolin a top three special teamer in the league. I'm kind of curious, do you like use any sort of data to like back that up? I mean, obviously your opinion is perfectly fine if not, but like, from a how do you rank special teamers, I guess?
Yeah, so I'm very biased when I say that. It's very much more off of our evaluation and how we write everybody up. So we are looking at, the number one way everybody's going to look at is special teams tackles. Now that can be a little bit skewed at times because when you look at some of the top special teams players in the NFL, an Ashton Dulin, a Schooler with the Patriots, a Skoranek with the Steelers, sometimes those guys aren't going to be the leading tacklers on their team because if you watch the Patriots film, on kickoff, Schooler's getting double teamed almost every single time. On kickoff, Doolin's getting double teamed a lot of the time. And then also on punt, those guys are so good at what they do. They force a lot of fair catches, which is not a statistic that gets, obviously brought up or tracked, which then takes away from their ability to make some of those tackles and some of those things. So you're looking at guys that, have a bunch of tackles in production that everybody kind of knows can be used in a variety of different ways and play different roles and impact games. So we kind of evaluate and go through and make a ranking at the end of the year of who all we think the top special teams players are. Um, and we always obviously biasly think that Doolin is certainly in that top group, and he has the added value of being a impact returner, which a lot of the four phase guys don't.
Just a couple more, Joel.
Um, with Rigo right now, like I was just thinking how well he's hitting it because he hits all the directional punts, the five inside the 20, and then when he has to launch one, he launches one too. Like just how well is he punting this year in terms of for the situation, that kind of thing?
I think Rigo's having a great year. That's certainly something that, we got to finish strong with. But he had a really good year last year. He set the franchise record for punt average last year. Really, he did not start the year great 2 years ago coming off the injury, but finished that season really well and got into a really good groove. We finished the 23 season with tied for the best net punt in franchise history last year. We were either second or third, the best net punt in franchise history, and he had the best punt average in franchise history. Right now, our net punt, if we were able to maintain that, would shatter the franchise record, and he would be right near where he was for a franchise record last year in punt average. So there's a combination of the punt team working together and Rigo doing an excellent job of helping out the coverage. But as a whole, there isn't one of those instances this year where you're like, man, we really mishit that punt. Like he is doing a great job matching his distance to hang time where those correlate and getting good directional placement on the ball. And, we got to finish that out. We've got certainly a huge challenge ahead of us where we played the Texans and then the Jaguars and then the Seahawks. You look at efficiency rankings and things like Rick Gosselin's model is the kind of gold standard for that, which I know he's semi-retired, but most of the analytics groups throughout the NFL have taken his model of 22 special team statistics that's aggregated into a composite ranking to determine who the best are. And I know Dave Tobe last week kind of brought that up in his press conference that they thought they were in for a challenge because the Colts were ranked second in whatever the efficiency ranking that they'd come up with. But the Texans are a top 10 special teams unit. The Jaguars are a top 10 special teams unit. They always are. The Seahawks are consensus the number one special teams unit in the NFL this year. So for us to be able to continue playing at the level we've had, we certainly have a huge challenge here coming up with both huge division games and playing really, really good special teams units moving forward. So obviously, and we're missing Doolin. Rigo continuing to punt at a really high level is going to be very paramount for us to continue having an over 45-yard net punt like our objective is.
Thanks for your time, Mace. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.